everyone. So it is that time of the month again, third Saturday, which is Dissect a Song. So this month I'm going with a German song, and I've done this artist before, Namika. I believe a few months ago, I did Phantom, so you can check that out. That will be in the description. And then this month we're doing Nador. I almost forgot what I was saying. Yeah, Nador. I remember when I first heard this song, I was so confused because I was like, "What does this word mean?" Because it's the title song of her album that came out at that time, which is about a couple years ago, I believe. And I was thinking, what does this song mean? Like, what is the name of the song? And I kept going through Google Translate and word reference. I was like, what does this mean? And apparently I found out that it actually is a city in Morocco. So I learned a little bit of geography. It is, I believe, a city that is in the north of Morocco, like basically on like the coast of like the Mediterranean Sea. If I'm wrong, there's a map right here. It'll clear that up. We'll clear that up. So I particularly am a very big fan of this artist because I love how she's very close to her roots, and I think I might have mentioned this before when I did the first time I did one of her songs. And she was born in Germany, but however, her roots go back to Morocco, and I love that, the past, couple of albums that I've been, the past two albums that I pretty much have listened to has really, explicitly like shown that. And I think that it makes me think, like, even though like I am an African American, but it kind of makes me want to like take one of those like ancestry tests, or like 23andMe or something like that, and just figure out where specifically I'm from, because that would kind of, not that, I mean, like, I, as like a black person, it's like, yeah, I know I'm American, but it's like my roots, like my history doesn't belong in America. Like, I mean, America is where I've been born and I was raised, but it's like that's not where my family has always been, when you, like I said, just tracing back those roots. So it'd be really cool. It kind of makes, she makes me kind of want to know like where I'm specifically from, or like, just like, it's just one of those things where it's just good to know, because it kind of like really, I think that, when you're closer to your roots, it kind of really gives you a sense of like self, that's in that saying, so to say. And you kind of will notice that in the lyrics when we get to that. But yeah, I really love this. I love this artist. Her music is just very, really authentic and very descriptive in certain ways, and it just really shows you. I think I've talked about this before, is that I think that people are really true artists when like their art makes people want to know who they are as a person, not just like, oh, I'm a big fan of this person's music or this genre of music. I'm particularly a fan of her specifically because her music makes me want to know who she is. And not only that, but her music tells a story of like letting me know who she really is. And that's kind of that. I think that's really fascinating. So we're gonna get right into that. Yeah. So there were quite a few words in here that I wasn't like really fully aware of, because the song is very descriptive, and there are like certain words or certain verbs that I was just like, I not have heard of that before. Like I said before, I think either last month or the month before that, is that I feel like I learn so much. I learn so much when I do these series, when I do the series, and then I get to share what I learn with you guys. So, it's just a wealth of knowledge in the process. So the first line is, Schließe die Augen, bleib kurz stehen und atme tief ein. So it's basically saying, I close my eyes. Usually if you're trying to say I close, it would be ich schließe, but like in certain cases, like sometimes subjects get dropped off. So it's like I close the eyes, or I close my eyes in context. Bleib kurz stehen. Kurz stehen, it literally means stay short to stand. So it's basically like saying, like, for a short moment I'm standing, like for a short moment I'm standing and I'm staying here. Or like I'm standing here for a short moment. And it says, and breathe in, breathe deeply in. Tief means deep, and ein means can mean in. Yeah. And then es duftet nach Safran, Honiggebäck, und gegrillten Fleisch. So it's like it smells like nach saffron, like it smells like it smells like saffron is like saffron, like a type of spice. Honiggebäck, it's like honey pastries. Und gegrillten Fleisch is basically grilled meat. Fleisch, just think of it as like flesh, but Fleisch. Yeah. And then sometimes it sounds really interesting, like if you're asking someone like if they prefer fish or Fleisch, don't get those two confused. I mean, they're both like, in a way, like meat from like living things, but like they just sound so similar. It's like fish, Fleisch, fish, Fleisch. That's a tongue twister. Okay. Okay. Ein Hauch von Benzen mischt sich hinein. So ein Hauch is basically where is it right here? Ein Hauch is like what is it right here? It's like breath. It's actually a masculine. Yeah, it's a masculine word. So breath, like the breath of life or things like that. Also, by the way, if you aren't wondering what this is carpal tunnel. So when you spend a lot of time on the computer, this happens. Okay, yeah, so it's like the breath of gas, like, this just doesn't, like, I think that's interesting. The breath of, like, gasoline mixed with, mixed, it's, like, inside in there. So sich is like his or her. So like mich, dich, sich. I think those are like mainly like the primary accusative forms of reflex. Like anytime something is reflexive or like something has been done to something, it's usually will that be that in that form. So I think it's kind of like saying like the breath or the breath of gasoline mixing itself inside. So it's like, you know, it smells like saffron, honey pastries, grilled fish, and it's like and like a breath of gasoline mix itself in there. So yeah. So there's just a lot of interesting like smells or things that are going on in this particular moment. Der Müll in der Sonne geht ein. Ich öffne die Augen. Okay, so der Müll is, it's like the trash in the sun goes in. I open my eyes. So it's like, you know, there's trash, and then there's this like I'm not necessarily like understanding the context of this fully. I know that's specifically what it means, but I think it's just kind of like she's just again describing things that are around her. Like, so it's like trash in the sun. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, like trash in the sun. You know how like when you like, you know, when you go to like a landfill and there's like trash and then there's the sun and it's hot outside. So it's like yeah, trash in the sun goes in. I open my eyes. Ich öffne die Augen. Ein paar Meter weiter ziehen Karawanen vorbei. So ein paar is like a good little like 2 words to know. It means like a few or like some, like it's like a really good like ein paar of something, you know. Like a few meters, like weiter means like to continue. So it's like, I guess it's like saying like, you know, a few meters like ahead. Continue, like yeah. Because weiter is like continue or like to go, like going on. Like it's kind of like a way of describing something that's like next or like forward. So so it's like a few meters sehen Karawanen vorbei, like to see Caravana is like think of like caravan, because it's like a long line of like cars. I think, yeah, it refers to like a long line of cars. Vorbei is another way of saying like passed by. So it's like a few meters ahead, like you like to see like car, like long lines of cars passing by. So it's got almost like describing traffic. Nette Frau in der Jalaba gekleidet mustert mich scharf von der Seite. So I kind of struggled with a little bit of this sentence, because I was like, there's certain like, again, there's a couple words I haven't really heard of, and there's like context there I didn't fully understand. I even had to ask a friend. So nin, that's a short way of saying einen, eine. Yeah, so again, like sometimes when spoken very quickly, as I've mentioned a lot in this series, is that sometimes just parts of words just get dropped off, because again, that's what happens when you speak really quickly. Yeah, so it's like an older woman in Jalaba. So I looked this one up because I know that this is not a German word, but it's actually a type of clothing that is worn. Like apparently Google says that it's typically traditionally worn by Arabs, but it's like, I'm like, that's interesting, but it's like there are multiple people out who aren't Arabs that wear it, as part of like tradition. So let's say like this is like kind of like it's like supposed to be like a hooded cloak or something like that. Here's a picture of it. You can see typically what I'm talking about. So this older woman, gekleidet means dressed. She's dressed in a jalaba. I'm having a hard time saying that. So it's like this older woman who's dressed in this jalaba, is basically like looks at me sharply from the side. Yeah, like my friend was like saying like, oh, it's like pattern me from the side, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense in English. So I'm like, it has to like by context be like she's like looking at you like from the side, or what we call the side eye. You don't want to get the side eye. For those of you who've never seen that, but like when you get a side eye, means like you're getting some looks. Also Seite, von der Seite. Okay, so that could also mean page. So Seite literally means like side. It is I believe, weiblich, feminine word. So it would be eine Seite, or die Seite, depending on the article. But it actually can mean page, like, like when you turn the page. And it also can mean like side, like this, like to the side of me, like direction, like to the side of me. Or like it can even be referring to like my side, or something like that. Okay, die Farbe der Haut, der Haut ist die gleiche. Die Farbe der Haut, so it's like the color of the skin is the same. Gleiche, like here, die gleiche is used as a noun, and also all nouns in German are capitalized. So die gleiche, it means like the same, like they are the identical. But then also it can be used as an adjective to say like this is identical to this, like this is an identical thing, or this is the same thing. So again, like in certain cases, like certain words can be used interchangeably depending on where you place them. Yeah. So the color of the skin is the same. So it's like the people in this environment are they have generally the same, like relatively same skin color. Okay, and then next one, trotzdem sehe ich nicht aus wie die meisten. Die meisten. So trotzdem can mean a couple different things. It can mean like still, or regardless, anyways, nevertheless, or even though. So it's like regardless of all of this, I see, sehe ich nicht. I don't see. It's like, it's really hard to like translate sometimes, because I'm like, wait, because I keep trying to like translate literally, and I'm like, literally sometimes doesn't always make sense. So it's like saying like nevertheless, I don't see like Alstan, like, let me think of this. Alstan. Okay, yeah. So Alstan, I just realized this is a Trennenverben, which is like a separable verb. So that's why there is the where is it? I almost lost my place. That's why it's like sehe ich nicht, and then there's aus. So Achstan is like nevertheless I don't appear. I don't appear like it most of the time, or I don't look like it all the time. So it's kind of like nevertheless I don't appear to look like it most of the time. So it's like the color of the skin's like the color of the skin is like is relatively the same, but sometimes it doesn't always appear that way. So I mean, I don't know if she's referring to like shades of skin colors. I mean, because I know, like, for example, with my skin color, I mean, a relatively light, I mean, like with black people, I mean, like, just as an example, like there are going to be people who are going to be so much darker than me, and there's some people who are actually lighter than me. You know, it's kind of like there's always like a spectrum. It's like you see that there's a spectrum, like kind of like we're all the same but different. Like even though like relatively, like, you know, with most, you know, with black people, we're all like relatively the same race, but it's like there's just variation. So we're all the same but different. I don't know if that's specifically what she's getting at, but I mean that's kind of like how I'm interpreting it. Yeah, so like Zwischen den Toy Palasten. So it's like between the tourist palaces, like you know, like tourist attractions, but they're like palaces. And then also notice the word den. That means that this is this is like the masculine accusative form, like the accusative article of that word. So that can basically say that the word after that, Tori Palation are is a masculine word. Okay, so it's like between the tourist palaces verstecken sich buchige Häuserfassaden. So verstecken means like to hide or to like to stash something away. Like between the tourist palaces, they hide themselves. Sich, remember that? They hide themselves, like in like brittle or like cracked, or anything that's just kind of like any type of building or something that's not really like stably built. These brittle house fronts or facades. So it can mean like, I'm not necessarily sure if like house facade, because it also can mean like is it a facade? So this could be like metaphorical, or it can be like actually literally they're hiding themselves in their brittle house fronts, or they are literally hiding themselves in a facade. Which I don't really think it's really a facade. I think they're really, you know, because based on the description of everything we've seen so far, I think it's literal. And then streunende Katzen, betonend, can't even read my own writing. Betonende Kinder, stark überfüllte Bazare. So it's like stray cats, begging children, strong, overcrowded. Bazare, I was really struggling with this word because I was like, bizarre, but then I was like, it's a noun because it's capitalized. So I was like, it has to be something. So I looked it up, and turns out a bazaar is or a bazaar is actually like it's a type of marketplace in the Middle East. So I was like, oh, interesting. So I think like one of the things that was kind of hard with translating, you know, with really just going in and dissecting the song, is that there's like certain words that are really, I mean, yes, the song is intended for a German audience, but at the same time, there's certain words that are like, it's like she's educating me on things that are part of, you know, cultural norms of, you know, of Nador. Okay. Yes. strong, overcrowded, marketplaces. Transporter mit Schafen, klappernde Busse, brüllende Taxifahrer. So, so here it's basically like transporter. It's like it can mean like, you know, like literally like transportate, like I think it's like transporters, like with Schaffen. That's Schaffen is like sheep, so it's like porting, or like, you know, moving, you know, place to place with sheep. Schaffen, I got really confused because there's a word that actually is like, there's a verb that is schaffen, which means something completely different. But then I was like, but it's capitalized, so it has to be a noun, and there's an like usually like verbs typically, and it's usually a verb if it ends in en. But the other thing is, like I said, with capitalization, if it's a noun and it ends in en, it's most likely going to be plural. So there's that. Yeah, and then so transporting with transporters with sheep, klappernde Busse, I believe, is like it's like busy, like bus. It's like, I know it has to do with buses, but it's basically like rattling buses, like, you know. Again, I think this is like basically very descriptive language here. So it's like a lot of adjectives you can see. So it's like more like rattling buses, and brüllende Taxifahrer. So brüllende is like roaring. So it's like she's just describing there's a lot of noise from like day-to-day life here. So Taxifahrer is a taxi driver. There's also a verb that is fahren, which basically means it means like to travel from place to place. But usually a lot of times I've seen it like where they use it when they're talking about like traveling by like you know, like fahren usually is referred to like if you're traveling by some form of transportation, like gehen, like, which is the verb meaning to go. I think it's more like it's always used in like how things are going, like, you know, in terms of like, you know, asking someone how they are, or like if you're specifically saying I'm going to this place, like intentions of going somewhere. But I think like when you're talking about traveling, it's always been like fahren. But then like there's also reisen, which basically does mean literally to travel. Yeah, so like when you're referring to just driving or going somewhere place to place, by mode of transportation is usually fahren. So yeah, transporting with sheep, you know, like basically like rattling buses and roaring taxi drivers. Like kleine Junge, der Barfußball Ball spielt. So it's like small children, or a small boy, like a young boy, barefoot, playing ball, you know. And then there is Schlangenbeschworer. Sometimes these words are hard to say. So it's like basically, Schlangenbeschworer. I'm going to try that again. Schlangenbeschworer, und Straßenmaler. So it's like basically saying snake charmers and street artists. Straßen it means streets, like plural. Straßenmaler, street artists or pavement artists. Mein offenes Ohr versteht jedes Wort. My open ears, and you can tell by the ending of this word, offness, that's why it's in es at the end, so you can tell that the next word is going to be a neutral noun. Or an or is an ear, so it's my open ear understands every word. I remember jedes, es, so that's that means that Wort is neutral. You can usually, if you like, I tell people all the time, if you just memorize the cases and endings, because like adjectives and articles, they take the ending depending on the gender and the case of the noun that it is describing, then typically like it'll follow that. So yeah, so basically like if you can, like when you're reading, you can tell what gender it is by the endings, and then also the endings reflect the case as well. So again, I'll probably get more into that into like a future video in the details of that. Okay, so my open ear understands every word. Auch wenn ich hier nicht geboren bin. Also, then. Okay, so don't get wenn confused with wann, because I know wann really refers to when, and then wenn refers to the word if. So, which confused me because wenn sounds like when in English. So I'm always like wenn. I'm like, that just sounds weird. But it's like, no, wenn is if, wann is when. Auch wenn ich hier nicht geboren. So it's also if I was not born here. Geboren bin. So geboren, I think, is like one of those verbs that uses the verb to be. We have words like that in French. I know that for sure. There's like, like with non-transitive words, they take the verb to be, which in French it would be être, but in German it would be sein. So usually that's why ich geboren bin. But then but then also at the same time, like it's one of those cases where like German grammar is really interesting because sometimes there are words that are going to conjugate words, or sometimes there'll be like second action verbs that go to the end. And again, I'm going to do a more detailed video on that in the future as well. So you'll get more of that. Yeah. So if you don't completely understand the translations or why these words are the way that they are, I will explain that in another video. Okay. And then after that is, denn die Wurzeln meines Stammbaums. So then the yeah, so like the roots. So die Wurzeln, this is a plural word, is like roots or background. So it's like that. It's like then the roots of my family tree. Yeah. So then the roots, my family tree, Stammbaum. Baum actually means a tree. So Stammbaum is like baums or like family trees or like your pedigree or like a dog pedigree or something, something like that. And then the next line is liegen tief hinter dieser Erde verborgen. Okay, so to lay deep. Liegen can mean like to lay or to lie. So it's like, like when you're reclined, like I am in this chair. it's like to lay, like whether it be laid down or to, yeah. So it's like this lies deep behind this hidden or concealed earth, or world. Oda, I think is like an interesting word because I know that there's like this. Yeah, it could also mean like soil or earth. Yeah. So Erde. So it's like so like these roots, my family tree lies deep behind this hidden earth. This earth, like hidden. Yeah, that was right. I don't know why I'm double checking these because when I read when I do these, I'm thinking, okay, like this is what it says, but sometimes I'm like, oh, like I need to just recheck just to make sure. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm unsure of myself. So, even if I know something is right, I always check. Can't help to be extremely sure. Again, I really care about giving you guys like at least the most accurate information that I can give. Okay, and so then it goes into this the hook or like the chorus line, which is auf der Suche nach mir selbst. Auf der Suche nach mir selbst. It's like, in a way, I believe it's like saying like I'm on the search for like after myself. So it's like she's searching for herself. Der Suche is like, I can tell that this is feminine because auf der, this is obviously the dative case, because a lot of times when I see prepositions like auf, I believe is a preposition. The following article is usually going to be der, which is the dative case for the dative feminine. Der is also nominative masculine, so you have to watch that. So you really have to pay attention to grammar in order to know which one you're talking about. Okay. In den Straßen von Nador. So in the streets of Nador. Für mich wie zu Hause, fühle mich verloren. So it's like basically feeling myself as like, so it's like basically feeling myself at home, feeling myself lost. Verloren, I know that that's like a verb that does mean like, I had originally thought it meant like to lose, because I've seen that word being used in that context before. But it also can mean like lost or like doomed. There's so many different ways this can actually mean something, but yeah. So basically it's like from what I'm hearing from this, it's like basically like I'm on the search for myself, and I feel myself like in the streets of Nador, and I feel myself, being lost. Like I'm just lost in it. I think it can also be like I'm lost in like time, like I'm lost in being in this environment. Or I think it also can be like I'm lost, like I feel like I'm like in the sense of like I'm like out of place. So I think this can be kind of like more of an abstract feeling of like lost, not like like, oh, I lost something. It's more like I'm feeling like I'm just like really just losing myself in something, in time or in a place. Okay. And then in the second part it says Laternen gehen an, Spazier am Strand. So it's like lamps going in, like angehen. That's also a trennen verb, which means like to intervene. So gehen means like to go, but angehen is really saying like to intervene, to step in, begin, approach, or to go about doing something. So in this context, Lanternen gehen an Spaziere am Strand. It's like lanterns or lamps intervening, approaching, like light coming about. Spazieren basically means like to take a walk or to stroll. So it's like walking at the beach. I can also tell this is also a masculine word, Strand, because am Strand, which I think is kind of like a contraction of, I want to say like it would mean like auf dem Straße, like that's kind of like what I think it would be, but like they don't really do that, so it would be like am Strand instead. I see words like that, like where it's like or like 6 Uhr, like I'm talking about time, like what hour it is, 6 Uhr, like at 6 o'clock or something like that. And then sehe mein Schatten im Sand. So I see my shadow in the sand. Also, Sand, I believe, is I want to say either neutral or masculine. Sometimes, like with dative or even accusative, I've noticed, with that dative, I've noticed that like neutral and masculine, they take the same type of articles. So, actually, no, yes, it is masculine. I just forgot that I wrote that down. I'm ahead of myself. I just need to be more sure of myself. Okay. Barfuß im Wasser, ein seidiger Wind begleitet die Wellen an Land. Barefoot in the water. Wasser is actually neutral. So, like I said, in dative, they take masculine and neutral, take the same articles. So barefoot in the water, ein seidiger Wind. Ein seidiger Wind, it's like a seidiger, it's like silky or smooth. Like seidig is like a word that basically means like like some like sort of like silky or smooth like textured object. So it's an adjective. So seidiger, so it means that wind must be a nominative masculine. I have asked someone about that, and he was like, no, that's like, I remember there was a word, and I was like, hey, like, is this word like, I said, like, is this word like dative? He's like, no, that's masculine. It's masculine nominative. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. It's good to know. So yeah, usually, so it's basically saying like barefoot in the water, a silky or like smooth wind. Begleitend is like another way of saying like, I want to say, like accompanied or go, like, yeah, begleitend basically means like to accompany, to go with, or to tag along. So it's like, barefoot in the water, a smooth wind goes along with or accompanies the waves on the land. So it's like basically a way of describing like the beach. You're there, you're in the water, and the wind basically is what guide, and the wind is basically in a way is a force that's like guiding the water to, the land, or like the earth, or out to like the shore, so to say. Okay, die Wellen an Land, and then schau in die Ferne, flatternde Flaggen beleuchtete Berge. That's a hard word to say. Yeah, so it's like showing like the mountain, like die Ferne is like basically like the distant, like showing the distant, fluttering flags, like illuminating mountains, like basically in the background, like, or like backlit mountains. So it's like showing in the distance waving flags and illuminating or backlit mountains. Okay, Vulkane, die schlafen, am Dach der Welt hängen goldene Sterne. So Vulkane, die schlafen. So it's like, I think it's basically mean like dormant volcanoes. Am Dach so it's like in the on the roof of the world hangs a golden star. So I think this is like alliteration. I think this is like description of the sun. It is a golden star that hangs in the roof of the world, or at least on top of the world. There's the earth, and then we see the sun. So it's basically, it's hanging on the roof of the world. Am Dach der Welt. Ein älterer Mann befestigt sein Boot. So like an older man befestigt. This comes from the verb befestigen, which means like to bolt down or secure something. So it's like bolting down his like post, or no, boat. So this older man is basically bolting down his boat. So I think it's kind of like, when you pull your boat to shore, it's like, guess, like when you anchor it, and like like so that like, like when you are pulling it back, and when you're like pulling it back so you can get on it or something like that. Just things that you do like in a harbor, I think. Bolting down his boat. Das Seil in den fertigen Händen. So it's like the rope in his like weakened or hands. Fatigue can basically mean like weakened, crippled, or it can mean like, I want to say, like, just think of the word like faltering in English. This is actually one of the reasons why I love learning foreign languages, because I feel like sometimes you learn more about like what you're, like where your words come from, or like the relation of the words. Like, like with foreign languages, sometimes I realize that like a bunch of languages that I speak are not really that different, because there's certain words that I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this word, really connecting the dots. Yeah, so it's like, just think of like, the rope in his faltering hands, like his weakened hands, because it's talking about an older man. And then it says, ich grüße mich, ich grüße mit Salam, lächelt mich an. it's really hard to say this slowly because I'm trying to make sure you understand or hear what I'm saying for pronunciation reasons. So it's like I greet with like a greeting, like a greeting. It's like I greet with salam. That's what that's what she says. He smiles at me. So lächelt, I actually looked this up because there are two words that actually sound the same to me. So anlachen, this is also a Trennenverb. So that's like when you see like these little random like prepositions or like small words at the end of a sentence. You're like, what is that? So the first part of the verb is going to go towards the end. So anlachen is a verb. It can mean like to laugh at someone or something, or to look tempting. Like for example, like zum Beispiel, das Stück Kuchen, da lacht mich an, which basically means like, it literally means like that piece of cake is looking at me, or is laughing at me. So it's like that piece of cake is tempting me, yeah. Or it can also mean like jemand anlachen, which can also mean like to like pick up somebody in a figurative sense. And then there's anlächeln, which basically means to smile at. So one means to laugh at, one means to smile at. Or like to, or in the case, it can also mean like to give like a come hither look. So those are like two things. I mean, in my mind, I was thinking like it means like he smiles in return. I greet him with salam, which is like what I think is like a way of saying hello. And then he smiles back at me. Okay. Right. And then from there, the next lyric is sein müdig Gesicht spricht Bände. So it's like his tired face says everything. Bände can also mean like volumes or like like a lot. So it's basically saying his tired face says everything, or it speaks volumes. Spricht Bände. Okay. And then in solchen Momenten frage ich mich. So in such a moment as this, in such moments like this, I ask myself, frage ich mich, wie's wohl wer hier geboren zu sein. So again, like I said, these lyrics are written as they're spoken. So like, again, like certain letters are dropped off. And so it's basically saying like how it could be here, like to be born here. Okay. And then andere Freunde, andere Werte, aber das Herz schlägt gleich. So it's like another friend, another Werte. This Werte has like a couple of different meanings. It's also a masculine word. It can mean like another cost, or another character, virtue, quality, or value. So in this context, it's like another friend, another character, or like another person. Another way of describing like a person. But the heart, schlagen is basically a verb that means like to hit, or to like, where did I write it down? Like there's a couple different meanings. And I try to give you the context of what the lyrics are, but I also like to give you like other context. So like if you see certain words come up, you kind of have an idea of what they mean. I forget where I wrote that down. Oh yeah, here. Schlagen, it means like to hit, or like to beat yourself up over something, but basically in this context, it's like the heart beats the same. Another friend, another character, or a person, but the heart beats the same. Remember gleich, and gleich in this case is used kind of like as an adjective, I believe, based on how grammatically how they wrote it. And then it repeats again with the chorus line, auf der Suche nach mir selbst. Okay, and then the bridge basically says, zwischen meinen Welten liegen 2000 Meilen. Between my worlds lies 2,000 miles. So I believe she's talking about like her life between Germany and Morocco. Like between worlds, zwischen meinen Welten, like between my worlds, liegen 2000 Meilen. so between those two worlds lies 2,000 miles. Für mich auf verrissen würd sie gerne verein. So it's like I feel myself often. Zerrissen is like another way of saying like torn or tattered or battered. Those are like the different ways of seeing the context. But in this particular lyrics, it can be like I see myself often torn. Würden sie, like would they like to be united? Like these two worlds they would like to be united. Vereinen means like to unite or to bring together. So it's like I feel myself often torn between, these two worlds that she's talking about, like often torn, feel myself often torn. They would like to unite. They would like to bring themselves together. So it's like, she's living in, obviously two worlds because she's, again, born in this country of Germany, but part of her identity is also rooted in Morocco. So she's talking about being between those two cultures. And she would like to bring them together. Ich würde so gerne wissen, wo ich hingehöre. So it's like I would like so very much, like so gern means like so much. So it's like I would like so much to know wo ich hingehöre. Like I would like where I can belong here. Like again, like in the sense of identity. Like I would like to know so much. I would like so much to know where I belong. Here, like in this world. It can mean like in this world, or it can mean like in this, in a specific place, but like in this context, I think it's like she's talking about her identity, like where I belong. In meinen Träumen fließt der Main in das Mittelmeer. In meinen Träumen fließt der Main. I keep saying that like in English because it's spelled the same way. It's Main in das Mittelmeer. So it's like in my dreams flies Main, like because I looked this up, and like Main can basically mean like capital city. Like for example, like it's like in like Kentucky. Here in Kentucky, the capital is Frankfurt. Frankfurt, Kentucky is like der Main. So it's like basically like it's saying my dreams fly in like the main part of the, okay, Mittelmeer, I was literally thinking this meant like middle sea, because Meer means like ocean, like sea, like the sea. And I was like, the middle of the sea? And it's like, no, actually, Mittelmeer is another way of saying the Mediterranean Sea. So it's like my dreams fly in the main of the, or like in the main part of the Mediterranean Sea. So it's interesting. So that's basically that, and then it repeats again, the chorus line. So again, I love that this song is very descriptive. So it's like if you're a person who wants to like be able to write, to do creative writing in, particularly German, this is a really good song for that. But I really like how it's just very descriptive. It's like, learning, like I think this is a great song if you're trying to learn to describe things, like describe like, just like if you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to describe, things that are in your environment, because there's a lot of really good adjectives in here, like a lot of words I didn't even know, right off the bat. So, but yeah, I really recommend this song. I also will put the link of the music video for the song in there, because I think a lot of times I always recommend the music videos, no matter what song I'm dissecting. I always typically put the music video in there, because I think visuals kind of will help you be able to see what they're talking about, especially like I said, I tell people that paralinguistics is really important, like nonverbal cues and like in observing, because a lot of times, in music videos, they're typically creating visuals for what kind of for what the lyrics are talking about. So I recommend that. And also, if you like to look at some other recommendations of music, you can also check out our website. I have that direct link down below. You can check out our music recommendations if you were looking for just different songs in German that you really just want to use to help practice. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, I hope that you learned something. Also, if you are German and I got something wrong, like please put that in the description, because this is a community, so that we could all learn. I mean, again, this is part of what I do every day, is I really love just being able to connect people around the world. And the more we can understand each other, the more we can bring each other closer. So again, as usual, I love to, make sure that we are, I just want to do my part to basically, get you more connected to the world and the people that are in it. So I'll see you next time on this series. Bye.